All right. Well, for everyone who's joined right on time, thank you for being punctual. We'll get started now. Um, quick introduction of myself. I'm Adam Adil. I'm a co-founder here at Ausforming, and our presentation today is going to be on the topic prepare your data for S4HANA. And I guess in light of recent announcements from SAP, we should probably consider this prepare your data for S4HANA and beyond, as there's some recent news around new capabilities that are pretty exciting. Um, for those of you who don't know Ozforming, we are a new company, but our directors have more than 40 years working in the enterprise software business. We work with large and medium-sized businesses and government agencies across Australia and New Zealand, and our role really is to help businesses better manage their operations through data-driven, human-centered solutions. We have a big focus on data. Data quality, completeness, security, and compliance are key focus areas for us. And we operate within a global network with some of the most brilliant solutions and implementers from around the world. And in this context, I'm really excited to be introducing you and our other Australian and New Zealand customers to Bluestone X. Now, many of you would have seen the announcements from SAP recently around the SAP Business Data Cloud, and it's a really significant announcement. People like Bob Evans from Cloud Wars and other analysts are really are able to describe, I guess, the importance of this change. And I think really after by taking this on and digesting the information, I think it's really fascinating to see that we're moving beyond the way that businesses used to view their enterprise architecture with the applications as the top of the stack into an environment where the data is now at the top of the stack, and it's really enabled through business AI as these capabilities enhance and grow. Not having or having AI capabilities that are not constrained to within a specific application, the AI insights, recommendations, but even increasingly as we move towards agentic AI, where we're actually driving business process across multiple applications, it opens up a whole new world in terms of capability and ability. That being said, it is absolutely essential that the business apps that are driving and feeding this environment need to have data that is trusted, needs to have data that is of course suitable quality and data that has the context, and also ensure that the data is kept secure as well. So today we'll be focusing on how to do that from an SAP perspective, and it's with great pleasure that I'll introduce Richard Henry, who's the commercial director from Bluestone X. And maybe Richard, did you want to just give us a little bit of an introduction in terms of who Bluestone X is, and maybe a little bit about yourself? I mean, you're beaming in from sunny, warm, tropical Aberdeen at the moment. So yeah, very keen to introduce Bluestone X to the attendees here.
Yes, so I'm here up in the Highlands of Scotland, where it is indeed very warm all year round and it never rains. And you guys are across in Australia. Bluestone X, the office that you see in the pictures here, this is our head office in a little sleepy town of Oswestry in England, in the UK. So this was the starting point of where it all began. And you mentioned a word early on in the conversation here, human-centered. And Bluestone X, for us, we're a BTP specialist in the SAP world, but we have at the heart of our DNA human-centered design, and that's all part of the App House methodologies. One of the members of the App Houses, I believe, in Australia, you've got a couple across there as well. So everything we do is this human-centered design aspect, and because of that, we have this very unique, quirky, but creative space. So very typical of a software company. We've got the pool table, we've got the dartboard and the ping pong table, etc. We haven't got sleeping pods, although that would be nice. So yeah, I was across in the office over the last couple of days, and what we do with this space is we invite customers to come to the space. It brings them away from their workplace and allows this creative way of thinking. And then we run a number of workshops, structured workshops, and we use some of the App House toolings to then help drive value out of the solutions that we've produced. Now, that could be a BTP application, which is what we're doing with some customers this week, or it could be something around the data angle as well. So, which probably ties us back nicely to today's conversation, etc. as well. But
So
no, thank you for introducing me.
yeah, absolutely. So I think the app house and the space and the creative aspect of it is really quite fundamental in terms of the type of customers that you have. Is it only the UK or across Europe?
No, our customers use our solutions globally. I would say the majority of our customers, their headquarters are either UK, Europe. We have had a couple across in the US as well.
Mhm.
Um, but some of the customers are global customers and therefore have offices dotted all around the world, from Australia to Latin America, up to Canada, and as I say, most of Europe, down to Africa, and all sorts. So yeah, we've got a huge. We interact with a lot of customers globally, um, and yeah, it's a big growing business for us at the moment.
Yeah.
It's mainly linked around that human-centered design approach. It's a different way of approaching things. It is end users first and value first, and then feeding the technology as and when it's appropriate in at the latter part, which I enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're hosting all of these customers in the facilities and going through the work that you do, I guess what are the common things that you're hearing? Obviously, there's some pressures from SAP around. Well, for every SAP customer, we hear about clean core. We hear about the I guess innovation of BTP and AI. I'm curious to hear, from your experience, Richard, what are the main sort of drivers that you're hearing from clients that come through your offices
Yeah,
and facilities?
uh, absolutely. So, look, those that have been in and around the SAP space for some time, whether partners like ourselves or as customers, SAP will always be pushing certain agendas, and at the moment, it's very much around, for those familiar with the terms, public cloud or grow, in some cases that will be market at, and rise programs, etc. As part of that, some of the key messaging that SAP will be marketing is clean core, AI. So when it comes to S4 HANA, there's a big push and a drive to get everybody onto S4 HANA. Ideally, SAP would love customers to be on a public cloud version. Not always possible, but potentially later, in which case you may go onto a rise journey where you do a standard approach. But they're encouraging this clean core type methodology. But customers, they've gone through years of um, creating ECC environments that have a lot of customization, a lot of custom code, etc. So, what is clean core? How can I do clean core? How do I do it in phases? So, those are the types of questions that we interact with customers on, and that could be taking some very business critical transactions that they're doing in their SAP systems or processes, and then doing them in a clean core way. Now, we use BTP to do that. There are other solutions. Ultimately, we're making them cloud applications so they can work with an ECC environment as just as much as they can work with an S4 environment cloud as well. So there's a lot of work around that. And then, of course, the big topic over the last couple of years has been AI. AI everything. So the stuff more recently has been around AI agents, agentic AI,
Hmm.
which has been quite interesting. Again, terminologies that SAP like to throw at us, Joule in every conversation, so everything has Joule on it. Um, but a lot of this is noise for customers. So again, we try and um, uh, give customers the information, but then we circle back around to, well, what is it that you're trying to achieve as a business? And it's these business use cases that we try and identify and then look for low hanging fruit. Well, actually, do you need AI to be doing that? Or is it, I suppose, back to the old school AI ways? Do you just need an automation for some of that stuff? Fair
Because a
enough.
lot,
We have found. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
no, no, I guess a lot of businesses, they have customizations that exist for a reason. There's specific things that might be the special sauce within their organization, right? That may be coded within current environments. And you're able to, through the process, lift that out of the customization and redeploy that capability into a cleaner way and a cleaner way of working, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Most of our early customers um, know that it's going to be a challenge not only to get the approvals within the business to make the switch from ECC to an S4 because they see it as a technical task. At the
Hmm.
same time, what they don't want to do is add to legacy debt. So what they tend to do is explore circumstances where they can use BTP in this circumstance to create a clean core, new innovation. So anything new, we always advise anything new today that you do, really, really consider doing that in a clean core manner. Anything old, you could park that because it works today. It's not causing you any issues. And if you move it onto a clean version, when you do your S/4HANA move, you might be assessing what you're going to keep and what you're going to get rid of. So
Hmm.
you don't necessarily always know or can guarantee what you will and will not need going forward in the future because SAP are innovating all the time. S4 HANA and its functionality we've seen over the last year, especially in certain industries, has grown around the standard functionality that it produces. So by the time you move to S4 HANA, some of those gaps may be plugged and it may be suitable for you to adopt and not adapt. But anything new and innovative is most likely going to be, as you say, your unique source to your company. That's what makes companies unique. That's what puts them in business in the first place and makes them successful. And most likely going to be the things that they will need to still innovate. So do that today in BTP. One, it protects you in the future. You can just take it with you. And it's investment in the right area. But also, as well, it can be quicker, easier, and allows you access to a whole arsenal of tools, including AI, Jules, and connecting back in with cloud kind of mindset as well.
Okay, so I imagine that there's going to be things that are unique to many organizations, and that they will be those special circumstances, those special tools, whether it's a pricing tool, a customer engagement tool, or some other kind of capability. But there must be commonality also in terms of what you hear from customers. Are there specific areas where you're hearing about time and time again, around any specific sort of capabilities that you think you can apply from across multiple customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we work with customers, sometimes it is unique. It is their secret sauce that we're kind of we're helping them to innovate in and around. But there are areas that are common across all business. Data is one area. Now, we produce a number of flagship products, we resell products, and in the data space, that's something that we have done. So, looking at common problems in the data arena, so data capture, for instance. So, I have customer data which I need to enter into my SAP system. That can become quite labor intensive, or it can become either repetitive, or what some of the other common areas is just repeat of data input. So customer or supplier inputs data into a spreadsheet. We'd get the spreadsheet as the data owner, and then I rekey it into a SAP system. So as soon as you start with processes where you have a lot of repetitive tasks and manual input, you start having inefficiencies. So that's an area that we've worked with customers in for a long period of time. Data quality, I think it's really exciting that BDC, or Business Data Cloud, has been announced in the last couple of weeks. We've always found that data has not necessarily been deemed as sexy, but it's good that this has now been given the spotlight that it really deserves, because the whole enterprise layer is the foundation, is the data. And that is now finally how SAP are presenting to our customers to say, your data is at your core. BTP will provide you with all the tools in your arsenal. You'll have your clean core architecture. You have all these lines of business around. But ultimately, data is now really critical, especially in the world of AI as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that opportunity, or that landscape that exists in many organisations, where SAP is such a big part of the way that they operate their business, the extension of out to business networks, the announcements also recently of the business suite, which incorporates multiple different business functions, and having that unified, harmonized data layer is certainly something that a lot of organisations are striving for. But I also hear that a lot of organisations are still struggling, right, in terms of just getting the applications that they have operating at the moment, operating efficiently, or in a way that is optimal. It could be we have heard from some customers that a blocker for them to move from ECC to S4 has been their data, and this never-ending task. It's like a job that'll never be done. Right? Is to get the data right for this move. We also have other customers or clients we talk to who have taken the brownfield approach, and they've just moved whatever they had in ECC across over into S4 HANA, and now they face a challenge, right, where there's an ongoing challenge to actually make best use of the data, and to actually clean the data to then make best use of the platform that they've invested in. Are these common things that you've heard of in the UK?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenging time for customers, especially those that have been an SAP customer for quite some years. You talk about kind of the brownfield approach. Absolutely, I think the common observation that we see is customers just picking their data up and moving it. And that could just be years or decades worth of data. The challenge there is cost sometimes. No, the starting challenge, should I say, is cost. So HANA can be quite expensive. So if you're taking all of your data across just in certain manners, it can become overly expensive. So people then decide, well, maybe I should clean up the data, remove my duplicates, improve my data quality. But I do think, the topic that we were speaking about before around, okay, we're now entering this AI era, and we want to have data insights, and we want to have good analytics that we can trust. And it's that trust part that I think customers are currently struggling with, especially when it comes to AI. But we've had years of SAC and forecasting and stuff. But if the data in your system is not correct, then it naturally will push out bad results. And everybody loves Excel, right? Especially in the finance world. And you'll find that people are doing data extracts into their reporting, and then somebody will still be manipulating that information using an Excel table and then feeding it back into that report. And that is fine and it works today, but that is labor intensive. Somebody knows exactly what data to manipulate and correct and adjust, because my data originally was bad. And so I'm having to do that. And we should, this day and age, be moving away from that. And AI is going to be the new way that SAP are presenting AI in this semantic layer, and almost like a data fabric type methodology that they are pronouncing with BDC. We're going to be very, very reliant on this data being correct. And some of the reports and statistics that are out there is that we're going to be producing a lot of AI that is just going to be invaluable. So having that data quality managed at the source so that you are capturing it on time, you are making sure the data quality is accurate, but then also for companies that are unique, you are able to capture your data points that are unique for your business. So it's relatively straightforward to capture SAP standard fields.
Yeah.
But your business may have uh, certain unique attributes that you need to capture. We also have likes of ESG information. So for environmental reporting, you may need to capture that both for compliance purposes, but also for your own business, especially if you're quite a forward-thinking business that, to your customers, it's important that you are knowing about your carbon footprints and things like that. So
Yeah.
all of these data points don't necessarily exist naturally. So people are sometimes looking for ways to make sure it's captured in a consistent manner,
Yeah.
but also an agile manner that today I can capture it in this way, in this methodology, and this workflow. But tomorrow, as the next global crisis happens or the next political event where I now need to pivot on a dime to change the way of working, I can do that
Yeah.
without a huge, long, year-long project to try and implement a new solution.
Well, I think that's really one of the key things, right? In terms of the human-centered design and the work that you do in the app houses, it's very much focused around being able to do things rapidly and to do them in a way that is compelling for the users who are actually doing the work, right? And flexibly. So I think the topic of master data management, I think traditionally has been one where organisations have tried to boil the ocean in terms of trying to establish a platform that works across all objects. I guess it's a different world now, right? Where you can be a lot more targeted, a lot more agile, a lot quicker in your approach, and it probably leads us onto the I guess the nexus that was the creation of the Maestro platform. So you're able to I guess
Yeah,
give
of
a
course.
little bit of an intro.
It's almost for our audience. It's almost as if we set it up to talk about this, uh, as
How
such.
could that
But if
even be
I
possible?
share, if I share my screen, yeah. So as I say, human-centered design. We've worked with customers in this data space for quite some time, and yeah, we developed a flagship product that we call Maestro. So you heard the name there from Adam just a second ago. So Maestro, in its sense, is a data management tool. It is a workflow engine. It is your governance, etc. And we use BTP. So I mentioned before, we solely kind of work in the BTP space. This uses a number of services from BTP, process automation, build work zone. But essentially, out of the box, it tackles 16 data objects. So your common ones, your materials, your customer master data, but it also helps with follow-on functions as well. So um, we developed, we like to call it a framework. So essentially, this is something that can be adapted by customers, not necessarily uh, by consultants, and the customers then have this as a template type stuff. As I say, common ones that you would come across: product article, for those in kind of the retail industry. Uh, Quite a common one: business partner, so customer and vendor; equipment master; bill of materials, routings, recipes; the finance objects as well there. And as I say, some of the follow-on functions, so PIR, costing and pricing elements as well. And these are all really important. Like I say, some of the tools out there will cover materials and customer and vendor quite well, but then that's not usually where people's data collection kind of stops. So the ability to either have a third party system interact with it, the ability to capture unique fields like a product code that comes again from some other source system, and what we have developed over, well, it's over a decade now that this has been in development. Just came out with the most recent release last year, and we're just about to launch a couple of newer versions this year as well as we kind of go out. But the typical process is you have a create request, you have then your data inputs and approvals, and then your data distribution. Okay. So we've created this framework which says that you can create your requests within the Maestro tool itself on your desktop or on your mobile, or you could commence the that starting process from a third-party system. Now, that could be from an API, an EDI. It could also be from an email potentially that goes into a manned by a robot inbox, and it's picked up from there. So we've had like PLM systems, especially in kind of like manufacturing settings, that have started these processes. And then what we do is when it comes to the data inputs, you then set up your workflow for the users who have the data or are critical to that process or are knowledgeable of that process. They're the ones attributing to those data inputs. So what we provide, and I'll go on to show this in just a second for our audience, is we provide the ability to have different views for different people or different functions within your business. So if you imagine the typical SAP data collection, you've got the big screens with all of the information, and you have like a data steward filling in all that. Now, they don't always know all of that information, so they're having to either phone up their colleague or somebody sending them an Excel, and that's where that data duplication comes in, where somebody's having to enter details twice because somebody's got to put it into a spreadsheet and somebody's got to put it into your SAP system. But then also you've got the quality part as well, because I'm not quite sure which field I need to actually input, or I might miss a field because it's not been made mandatory. Um, so these are common problems that we saw over the years when speaking to customers, and we thought there must be a better way to capture this, and that's where Maestro was kind of born, was thinking about the end users and the ability to input, gather data, and do approvals. Again, approvals. Who is it that's doing approvals, etc.
So those rules, Richard, are they the business rules? Are they something that have to be coded, or are they actually things
No,
you can actually draw?
that yeah. So that's the beauty of this is Maestro was designed as this framework, this workflow, and old. There are other tools out there where you have to have a dedicated like team going in to go and do coding and other things in the back end system. It takes a long time, takes a very specific skill set as well. But again, the communication is it's the data owners or the people that are within the process. They are the knowledge of the process, and those that have the skills to go in and code it don't always necessarily have that same context or knowledge. So again, you're trying to feed information third party over to somebody to then create it in a backend system that then flows through. So you sometimes have delays, you sometimes don't get it right the first time, because it's translation, right, in terms of the language. So we developed a no-code kind of framework. So we have configuration elements within Maestro that it's essentially no code. So your end users can go in and just write a business rule. So I want that field to be made mandatory. Well, that's the click of a button. I want to hide those fields so that I only have just exactly what my business process needs to capture in this stage of data collection. Clicks and buttons. So it's again, we're in the 21st century now. We're in the era of AI and applications, and we've got handheld devices attached to our hands constantly. Why not have a better way to kind of do that? So I will now show our audience maybe a bit of Maestro. If you just bear with me for a second. So Maestro is accessed via the browser. So it can be accessed on a mobile just as much as it can on your desktop. So that's one large advancement for a lot of our users. So even ECC users, they would still access this in the same way. It's a BTP application. It's essentially accessed via a web browser, which gives it a lot of flexibility to start with. We've kind of got the all of your tasks kind of separated. We have a dashboard, analytical dashboard, which we've developed some of the key attributes of the user's day. So this is, how many open requests I've got, how many upcoming tasks, what is my priority for today that I'd like to do, and what is my performance as well. So how long is it taking to either create an object, a material, an article? Quickly was it done? All of those types of attributes that we're able to kind of see here. And then we go into kind of create request area. Now here, this is where you have what we call templates. So as your business, when you're kind of setting up Maestro, you have a workflow, that would be a template, but you can have as many templates as you kind of want. This is framework idea that we were kind of going down the route of. So you could have a finished goods process, you could have a packaging process. All of these are then kind of written out as your business process, and then you can control by roles who's accessing them as well. So that's the beauty. We've got favorites here. So we're just going to go into a simple create one, which doesn't have a lot of different views. We enter our description. For analytical reasons, we give a reason code and then give it a priority as well. Again, some of that reporting comes off the dates. So this is the concept of what we call a view. You can have, as many views as you want. So maybe like a basic data view, and then you go into your different other views later on. So it could be your sales data, it could be your manufacturing data, it could be doing a materials object. And this is where you can start making fields mandatory. So we talked earlier about what makes your business unique. Well, you may have certain areas here that you must, as a business, capture because it's for your analytical reasons, or it may be just because that is needed for your specific product or customer, whatever it may be. The order, how this is displayed, that is all, again, customizable, no code. And that's the beauty of it as well. So here, just entering basic detail. Again, this is where we can start doing some clever logical code, where I click that it's kilograms as my metric there, or my plant location, or whatever it is, and it can start pre-populating other areas of the field as well. So again, most of our customers that have taken on Maestro have seen roughly a 40% reduction in time to create some of their data attributes. 40 to 60% is usually common. We can put comments in, we can put attachments. Again, some people have got certain documents, especially with certificates for materials. So we're creating a basic data field at the moment. We've now sent that to be created. And at this stage, we haven't created an SAP. It's kind of in a bit of a holding pattern because what we've got now is an approval step. So we go into my task list here in just a second. And we have all of my tasks that are available. So the screen share that we've got at the moment, basically here we have both the create and the approval step, but you would have that in your organization likely as two different sets of people. And here they have a notification now sent by email. We are now going down the AI angle. I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek later on, but there are other ways to inform people that, look, you've got a task to do, you've got an approval step as well. So as the approver, I've now got a notification. I've got a couple of steps, a pending step here as well. Again, you can put dependencies. So if certain data attributes need to be filled in by, let's say, finance, but until finance give that data, the following workflows cannot happen. then you can put dependencies there as well. So that helps with data accuracy. It helps with following your specific business process as well. So just again, when we talk about our love for human-centered design, a lot of this is around the UI elements here as well. So making sure it's intuitive to use. Again, some of the feedback from our customers is the ability to onboard new team members. Again, we've got a skills shortage in the world at the moment. This is something that people can follow and understand relatively easy. And the difference between the different data objects, so customer, vendor, material, etc., is that it looks the same every time. So obviously you will have different fields, you will have different data attributes between them, but the look and feel stays consistent. So as a data steward, you'll be very, very familiar with lots of them. But as end users, if you're asked to contribute to customer data or vendor data, it's the same type of process that you're following, and very intuitive to kind of use. So here we've gone through the first stage approval and then final stage approval. We're just going to complete the views and then we're going to send that for approval. At this stage, we get a notification to say, would you like to send it to SAP? Yes, I would. Then that's it sent to SAP in the back end. And it's as simple as that. So again, we talked earlier, we just thought it could be done better, could be done in a way that didn't have huge teams managing data that were not necessarily close to the data itself. And this is a good way to kind of set a good, strong foundation for good quality and accurate data as well.
Excellent, Rich. Thank you for that. We're starting to get some questions on the chat, but we'll save them for the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned a bit of a teaser. So just for our audience, we have been developing our own kind of AI use cases with customers over the last kind of year or so. So we were part of, if anybody's heard of the Next Level Challenge, we completed that last year as Bluestone X. We were we were invited to come and join the Next Level program. So we did document processing discovery with a couple of our customers. And that kind of got us a bit of a bug to go down the AI route. So we looked at some other AI tools that would be common. So Microsoft Teams, most customers use Microsoft Teams. So we focused a little bit on that, about advancing Maestro and its capabilities. So we will be releasing our Copilot feature to our Maestro customers around April, May time this year. So it's just going through final testing at the moment. The bit that I've got kind of displayed on the screen is the ability to kind of create the tasks through Copilot. So you've kind of seen us have the in-app view there, but you could equally do the same transaction through Copilot. So for something like a simple kind of change, I would say that's probably a good use case there. But where we found the real value was on the approval steps. So I am the final approver. I'm a very busy CFO, for instance. I'm the one that needs to have the final approval. I get a notification on my Teams. It presents me with the relevant information that I need to assess. And I have a little button there that says approve. Likewise, also in that release, we're also doing the email notification as well, where you just have a one-click button to approve or reject the data input for that final step there as well. And other steps would be available as part of that. But yeah, exciting times. We are constantly innovating. We've got a dedicated R&D team in this space, and we're always taking customer feedback as well. And just on customers,
I do love that
yeah.
that name of the product there, the Monty, right? So it's going to be the big in terms of AI capability. So.
But you'd asked me to kind of share, kind of what customers are kind of seeing out of this. I think the processing times, definitely that's something that they definitely see. There's a customer that I've been working with last year. They went live around summer last year with their system. So large scale electronics manufacturer and distributor. Now they use Article Master. So not a hugely common one necessarily in that space, but their challenge was multi. Lots of challenges throughout the business, but a couple of them I just kind of wanted to share with the audience. So, as part of their business strategy, they were doing acquisitions. Now, some of the businesses that they were acquiring had, you know, hundreds of thousands of articles that they needed to bring into their SAP environment. And the traditional methods, so they had a few Excel tables that they could upload, but even with those, there was limitations as to how many items they could upload, and they didn't have the flexibility to capture their specific business data attributes within that process. So, and that's one of the core reasons that they brought on Maestro. So rather than taking 4 to 5 months to bring that business on board, it took less than a month. So they managed to scale. They have increased the amount of articles as an overall business that they can produce from about 6 times the amount. So 600% kind of increase on their productivity just by changing tools and reducing kind of input. Now they are seeing other opportunities there as well. So data quality has kind of come through. That wasn't necessarily a huge issue for them, but they are also taking the advantage of it. But it's also the agility. So they shared with me just a couple of days ago, they actually were able to win a contract because of the speed in which that they could bring a new product to the market. So this whole article creation um, is all about being able to do new product lines to their sales process. So the ability to do a quote to a customer of theirs, they have to have that data there in the system. So they were able to do that, the change to bring that new info, which allowed them on a Friday at 12 o'clock midday to then be able to create the article, which meant that they could get the quote in by 5 o'clock. And they won that contract, millions of pounds worth of the contract, a really good success story. But it's paid for itself 10 times over already. And they've only had it, 6, 7 months at this stage. So it's really exciting. As I say, one of the other things, just in terms of the ability to bring more products to the market, uh, they didn't necessarily set out with this approach or this goal, but what they're finding is the ability that that they are winning more work because the more new products they bring to the market, customers naturally will buy new product ranges. So they are able to advance more product suites, more new products, and then naturally their business has also started to take in more revenue because they're getting more sales. It's a really cool little story. Again, BAE Systems, and I know your audience are familiar with them as well. They've been a user of Maestro for a number of years. They also saw similar productivity increases, reductions in time spent, reduction of errors, etc., as well. And the ability that they now have a foundation that they can scale with. Again, it's modular. You could take on customers today, increase to materials later, etc. Anyway, I've chewed your ear off, Adam. But hopefully for our audience, that's been useful to kind of see that there are tools out there to very simply and very flexibly help manage the data as well.
Excellent, excellent. Now, through some feat, I'm going to try and share my screen here, and we do actually have some great questions on the chat. So let me ask the first question, Richard, which will be: what value and additions or capabilities can be offered to customers who are already using S4HANA and SAP MDG, especially with Maestro? So if a customer has the SAP MDG tools, is Maestro still suitable for them potentially?
So yes, we've interacted with a number of customers who have SAP MDG. What I would say is Maestro is doing a very similar job at the final kind of stage. So Maestro adds quite a bit of value in terms of the data capture. SAP MDG It doesn't then add anything further on top of Maestro in a lot of cases. But if you already have SAP MDG, we understand the concern about then trying to bring in another tool. So Maestro can interact with SAP MDG. We would sometimes say potentially there's not a need if you have Maestro to still have SAP MDG, but contractually some customers may be locked into that situation. But it is definitely an option available there, which is really positive.
Yeah, and look, I think it's also worth noting that Maestro is a SAP certified app on the SAP App Store.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, absolutely. So it is on
Yeah.
the SAP store. It's recognized. It's sold there. So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks, Richard. Now I'm looking over here to my questions. Question here about mass processing. Can the input templates have validation in them using business rules?
They can, absolutely. Yeah. So I apologies because I didn't quite touch on that. So yeah, validation is absolutely a really critical step. So you can ingest a lot of APIs. Again, we're on the BTP platform, home of innovation and productivity. So yeah, common ones that we've looked at is, address fields, DUNS or kind of financial text there. But absolutely, you can have externally recognized validations, but you can also set up your own rules to validate data as it being inputted as well. So you can set character limits. You can have you could set rules which say you can only input if it is starts with the letter A and ends with the letter. You can, if you could think it, you could probably write it as a logical code, and that would be a pre-validation. So from data collection, so as people are enriching data or inputting data, you can have checks throughout that process which says you cannot now send it for approval until you correct this mistake. And that is as you're inputting it, so you don't have to go through the whole stage and then it brings you back. That is as you type it in as well.
Right. But I guess in when you're mass processing, then you obviously can bounce
So
off
yeah,
them.
sorry, mass processing. So I mentioned earlier, everybody loves Excel.
Yeah.
We also have the ability to do mass processing, so you can create multiple objects. We have that as a screen within Maestro, but equally we have a extract button, so you can download a mass processing Excel sheet. You can then input all that data en masse, so you can do thousands of records in there same time, and then you upload it. All of the validations that are contained within Maestro are also in that Excel sheet as well. So it will not let you upload that if there's errors, if there's, which again helps with data quality. It will specify exactly what lines, if there is any mistyping, etc. But that is again one of the key reasons that the likes of that company I was mentioning, when we're talking about thousands of articles, it's exactly the use case that they use it for.
Okay, excellent. Next question here, Richard. Addition of data objects. For example, if you were to have a maintenance plan, an item, rough time to configure a new object. Just in terms of implementation time, I guess this is asking.
Yeah.
How long does this take? Are we talking a year's work? Are we talking 6 months? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so we ship Maestro with what we call RDS templates, so Rapid Deployment Solution templates. That covers SAP standard fields for each of the data objects. And then, as I say, our customers can then go in and configure these themselves. Now, we typically don't see customers go straight off the bat confident to do that themselves necessarily. But in reality, if you were to do that approach and you felt that you did have a good knowledge base of your workflows, etc., and you knew what your rules were, then there's no reason you couldn't install a new object and take the RDS templates in 2 days. That would be, the turnaround for this. Now, typically, whether it be the customer or ourselves or our partners who then help you work through that no code configuration of what those processes are, somewhere between 5 to 10 days per kind of template. And a lot of that is just how complex your rules are that you're trying to. it's the time taken to kind of think of what those rules are, not in any part of the tool necessarily. That's the easy part. It's really the business conversation which says, what do you need to do? Who collects what?
Yeah.
And then mapping it all out. So the mapping is probably where the time is spent, but that is going to be the same for any tool. You need to do the work to do that. You can copy templates though. So if you have very similar processes or workflows and you just want one that's finished goods A, finished goods B, finished goods C, and there's maybe just a couple of very quick tweaks, you can just copy those templates and then make the adjustments. And so that can really accelerate. We've got customers with hundreds of templates.
Yeah.
A lot of them are in that way as well.
Okay, excellent.
Hopefully that answers the question there.
It does. We've got two more questions. We probably have time to cover both of them. So, but we are running out of time. So the first of the two questions was where you have complex rules that, for example, I think if there's a functional location category equals X, Y, then the maintenance work center must be populated with category 005 and a work format like XYZ. So kind of the complexity of rules, right? I guess how flexible is it from a no code point of view?
Incredibly flexible. If you have really complex scenarios or rules, it can deal with it absolutely. If you could write it on the chat on Teams, you can write it
Okay.
in Maestro. As I say, it's the time to probably come up with exactly what that rule is. That's where the time is spent. But entering it into Maestro is relatively straightforward. So
Excellent.
yeah, we've seen some incredibly complex rules. We can also, the previous question, apologies, because I know we're running out of time. We might go a little bit over here, but somebody asked about custom fields, so non-standard objects. We can deal with those as well. So that would be probably more a bit of a development angle that we would do. But yeah, we have questions from customers all the time about completely custom objects. We can absolutely deal with them as well. It can be written into Maestro as well. And again, all of this is a clean core approach. It's a BTP application. So again, it feeds into the natural strategy of SAP as well.
Excellent. And our last question, does Maestro offer capabilities for assessing data quality in existing master data and providing holistic data quality insights across all data assets?
So we've got kind of duplication checks. We've got as you kind of enter information, so materials and BP are the ones that are currently in process at the moment on the current release. But as you enter like a material description there, it will already do a duplication check of your other operations. It uses AI specifically to look at, okay, is that name that I found 100% match, 90% match? It does a bit of a fuzzy search there. So that's in the standard tooling there as well. So it helps with not increasing to bad data quality. And then, as I say, you then have data quality reporting as well on top of that, as some of the tabs on the side there.
Fantastic. And look, I guess if anyone is interested in learning more, we do have some suggested next steps from our team. So Ausforming is proudly representing Bluestone X in Australia and New Zealand, and we're happy to provide a no-cost, no-obligation data assessment. Could be as easy as a conversation around your current processes, or as much as a 1 or 2 day sort of deep dive on current processes and business challenges. If any of what we've seen today or what you've seen today is of interest and you'd like to take a more detailed conversation with the specialists at Bluestone X, please let us know, and we're happy to provide detailed demos. We didn't really have time to cover things like the configuration or the no-code workflows or any of those topics. However, we can do that with a more detailed demonstration and focus. If there's specific use cases or challenges or problems that you're looking at, or if you'd like to understand work that we've done with other clients, please reach out. So you have myself, Adam Adel at ausforming.com, and my business partner, Sahil Naqvi at ausforming.com. And we are only too happy to help answer any questions and assist you in any way we can. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the session that we had planned for you today. I wanted to thank again Richard for waking up so early in that balmy Scottish morning. The sun's probably streaming in through your virtual background
Yeah, absolutely.
at the moment, or it will be at about 11 o'clock till about 2, right?
That's it.
And yeah, so thanks again, Richard. It's wonderful to be representing Bluestone X and Maestro in this region. And thank you all. Please reach out if there's anything that we can assist you with in the future.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me on, Adam.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. All right. Thanks, guys.